Hey YouTube land, Tyconder is coming back with another action figure review, and today we are having a look at a Masters of the Universe figure. Now, I haven't done too many Masters of the Universe. I haven't been able to keep up with all the Masters of the Universe stuff, so every so often I will do a Masters of the Universe figure, and this is one I've been kind of excited for. This is the one of two figures I've gotten for this particular line. It is part of the Cartoon Collection, so if I move her out of the way, you can see the box in the background. We'll have a look at the box first, and then we'll have a look at the figure. But what this is it is Cartoon Collection 2000X, or Mike Young Productions MYP version, Evil-Lyn. So if I just ever so slightly move my camera up, you'll see the box in all its glory. You can see it has the newer style logo. Well, it's not newer style logo, it's the logo based on that animation compared to the actual older, like, Masters of the Universe 80s animation style and the old figure line. If I have an example of the other figures around, I will see if I can showcase it. But this is the newer style. So on the back of the box, now this is the European version, I believe. I'm not too sure if there's a difference between the European version and the American versions for these. I do know that there is no mini comic included, and I believe that is still the same case with the American releases. For some reason they decided not to opt out with the kind of the mini comic that you'd be more associated with some of the more common releases. But for this particular wave, if I bring the card back closer, you can see it's a 3-figure wave. I believe all the waves are 3-figure waves for this. And the other 2 figures in this particular wave is Man-at-Arms. And as you can see, Evil-Lyn just shows Casey what she can do. And then you have Moss Man, which is interesting because they didn't put him as a deluxe this time around. He's in the standard packaging. The standard Origins one was more of a deluxe figure. And then you have some really cool artwork. I know this is sideways, but you have some really cool artwork of Teela versus Evil-Lyn from the cartoon series. And then you have, like, Skeletor overshadowing them in the background. And is there anything else that's of interest in that artwork? It's more Evil-Lyn just doing like what looks like a energy shield while Teela is trying to break it down. But it is quite a cool look. So we'll pause there, we'll bring the figure in, you can see her in, and we'll have a look at the figure in depth in a little bit. So here she is in all her glory. Now we'll bring in the tape measure so we can have a look-see at the height. I do believe these figures are slightly taller than the previous releases, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. So from her feet to the top of her headdress, which is the highest point on the figure, she does stand around 6 inches. She's around 5.5 if you take off the headdress piece. So she's kind of a mix between both sizes. And what we'll do is we'll get comparisons out of the way first. So we can have a look-see. Now, unfortunately, my one needs a bit of a wash, but we'll bring in the standard cartoon series version of Evil-Lyn, which is this figure here. This is the previous cartoon release, so this one is based on her Filmation look. In fact, if I just move her in and get her standing, it is a really nicely done figure. Just get her to stand, which would be nice. She does have kind of awkward ankles. On my one, they're a little bit floppy. So bear with me a moment while I just try and get her to stand up a little bit better. Come on, Evil-Lyn. There we go. So that is the standard release version of her. That is the standard release version of her. What's interesting to note with the standard release is it does share some crossover in the sense that this tunic piece that's on her for this version is not a sculpted piece. It's actually a kind of rubber material that's placed over the body, because they reuse this body for the Tila as well as Evil-Lyn. And I'm assuming, I don't have the Tila figure, I think the Tila figure hasn't actually come out yet, or it's one of the newer waves, but I do intend picking up the Tila figure. But I have a feeling they probably did the same thing where they used most of this female sculpt for Tila, but we'll get into that in a second. And then the other figure that I have of her is the previous version of the 2000X style Evil-Lyn, and this is that version. So this is supposed to be based on the same character from the same cartoon series. They did a 2000X inspired paint deco version of the original, well, the original Origins Evil-Lyn. So it is the exact same Evil-Lyn sculpt. They didn't change anything up on it. They just gave her a more 2000X style paint scheme, so you can see how it scales. The one main difference between this one and this version, and it's a kind of a bit of a bone of contention with some of the fans, because this one has the more paler skin, which is how she was depicted in the cartoon, whereas this version has a more natural skin tone. And then obviously you got her Filmation look, where she looked very jaundiced and very yellow skinned and very like, I don't know what they were aiming for. I think it was supposed to be like just because he's a magic user and stuff like that, and it's like set on a different planet, and you have creatures like, you know, monster creatures like beastmen and stuff like that. So I suppose they just wanted to make her stand out from the general standard good guys, so they made her slightly different for the bad guys. But the figure, and it was something that was in the old action figure line, the old original action figure for Evil-Lyn, which I don't have to hand, unfortunately, was very yellow in complexion as well. So it was very like jaundiced yellow skin character. Again, that's what they went with. It was back in the 80s, but that was what she looked like. So we're going to move these two aside for now. We might bring them back in when I have a look at the staffs, because there's some interesting stuff going on with her staff. She does have only one weapon. Now, before I go any further on the figure, I do want to point out one thing. I have actually changed her paint apps slightly. If I just bring her a bit forward, you might be able to see it. Just up here, that's jewel crest on her head. There's a red gem on it. In the cartoon, she has that red gem. On the actual figure, she did not have that red gem. There's a few other missing paint apps that would make her a bit more accurate to her cartoon counterpart. On these, this thing's quite handy for a little boat here. On her upper wrist bracers, I suppose, or whatever you'd call them, armbands. It is sculpted on them, but it isn't painted. There should be gold trim, similar to this kind of, well, on some of the other figures, or some of on the cartoon depiction, it shows like gold rims just around those elbow pieces or upper arm bands. I'm not sure if you can see it on screen, but it is a sculpted feature there. So I was thinking of picking up a second one of these figures, and if I do, I'm going to add the paint apps that are missing, just to see if we make her a bit more screen accurate. The other thing is, on her, even though it's sculpted, but it's hard to see them, you can see there's like little skull icons on her, what would be knee pads, I suppose, or knee, the pieces that come off her boot up to her knees. A little wash on that, maybe like a bluish or purplish wash over that, would probably make those pop and make it look more distinctive. But for the most part, we'll get through what she has. So she comes with a individual staff. What's interesting is the staff top can rotate, but it's not designed. Oh, also those paint apps on the staff is kind of subpar as well, compared to the fact that on the previous version of her, on the previous cartoon version, you actually got paint apps for the staff. They actually went and colored in the gem. I think although I think it's more cast in black plastic, and the handle is the thing that's colored, but it is colored in. They didn't do it for the previous versions. Like, this is the one from the standard Origins. It's a bright blue stick with the gem on it, and the other one's a dark purple, which matches this kind of purple. But in the animation, if I'm remembering it right, the claw piece around the top should be grey, and the gem should be like a dark black obsidian, if I remember correctly, or it's like a bluish thing. In fact, is it coloured on the back of our card back? It is possibly coloured on the back of our card back. And not really, you can't really make it out on the back of the card back. If I just bring the card back in, you can't really tell if it's coloured or not because it's within the shield. But in the cartoon, if I can find an image of the cartoon, I'll probably pop it up somewhere here. But just to show what I'm on about. But this claw piece that holds the main gem, or the main orb, is actually coloured and a kind of grey. And then this, I believe the staff is still kind of purple. And then you have a kind of black or obsidian ball for the actual staff, which is pretty cool. So for articulation, her hands can go up and down. There's a hinge out to the side. Now her kind of upper torso armor stuff will get in the way when you're moving it. I did have issue with this one out of the box that it was very loose and floppy, so I ended up using little dabs of super glue to kind of straight fix it up. But these are like other Origins figures. In fact, you might be able to see some of the super glue that's residue on this. The arms just plug in, the head can pop off, the waist can pop out. You have, I do believe, is it the legs are supposed to pop off if you heat them up enough, but I wouldn't advise it. But you get some great range of movement out of this character. She has the shoulder joint that can go up and out. You can do a T-pose to that extent. She has a single jointed elbow, but it gets a good 90-degree bend. She does have hinges in the wrists, so she has kind of side-to-side hinges as opposed to up and down, which is nice. I do have the He-Man figure, but I don't have him with me. He has a up-down for his sword holding hand, and then in-out for the opposite hand. I'll just show the detailing of her dress on the back. I believe these probably are painted in on the cartoon as well. They're probably a grayish color. Same thing with the headdress. If I bring her head sculpt up, these bits of webbing on the cartoon, let's get this back in. So just above here, there's a sculpt in here. I'm not sure if it's coming across, but that is gray on the cartoon, where they kind of left that out as well. So they did go to town on the paint apps, but they didn't go exactly screen accurate on paint apps, which is kind of a shame. I think they could have just pushed it a little bit more. I don't know too much bleeding on the white. The one part on the chest piece I was concerned about is the paint on this kind of skeletal kind of rib cage thing that she has going on that covers her chest, and it's pretty good. And you got these kind of what look like earrings. They're actually part of her helmet, I think, or the headdress that she has. I do love that little evil smirk that she has, and she does look pretty good. I mean, compared to the original kind of version head, which again is just the original figure head, just repainted, given a bit of a more purple paint apps than the other ones. These two head sculpts that they did for the cartoon collection are just phenomenal. I really liked it. They really captured the kind of look of Evil-Lyn for both of them, for both series. So I do think that's pretty cool. She does have waist swivel. She can do splits that much. There is a rotation in the thigh, which is quite nicely hidden. She can kick forward. She can kick. Now, this is where you have to be careful. You have to watch where this hinge is, because she does have a single jointed knee, and it is quite tough on mine. And then she does have boot cut, a boot swivel, where the boot goes into the knee. And then she has rocker ankles and peg holes on the bottom of her feet. So she is quite articulated. As I said, I did have issue with mine with the arm being floppy coming out of the box. So I did try and fix it or remedy it. It's still not the best. With her hand, it does droop. The weight of this gem on top of her staff does cause her arm to be top heavy. She can do some pretty cool posing, like she's casting spells and stuff. So it is up to you how you want to pose her on your shelf, should you want that. And I will throw a little montage clip in here. Chariot from the 2000X line. So it is a Masters of the Universe 2000X vehicle. It's one of the few that I have from the bad guys. I only have, well, I have the Raptor, the Battle Raptor, or whatever it's called, I think, with the like piston legs, and it has like, you know, it's kind of biomechanical raptor looking thing. I can't remember the name of it. It comes with Skeletor, but I don't have a Skeletor. So when I do pick up the Cartoon Collection version of Skeletor, I probably will bring that in and have that showcased with him. I don't have any of the cats like Battle Cat or Panther, and I don't have too many of the other stuff. I do have a Slime Pit. I do want to see how she stacks with the Slime Pit, even though it's more of a horde thing. But if I can dig it out, and I might do an update video with her in working around the Slime Pit. But overall, these are similar in scale to that old line. So it is interesting to see that some of the vehicles can be still used with them. You mightn't be able to get away with all of them, but you might get some usage out of some of the older vehicles until they release new ones. If they do release new ones for this particular line, I don't know what their intention is. They're more focused on the movie line coming out. So I'd imagine any vehicles will be more movie based for the next while, and then they might go back and do some of the vintage vehicles, because there were some more unique vehicles that weren't part of the vintage line that came out for the 2000X line, so they might go back and do some of that. So there you go, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video review for Evil-Lyn. She is a pretty cool looking figure, and as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my video channel. Every subscription and like and comment helps build that channel, so I do appreciate it, and thanks for watching. So have a good day wherever you are in the world, and thanks again for watching.